Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. Right here with Spears.
How y'all feel out there?
What time is it? Game time. What's up? We're here, West Palm Beach, Florida. Home of the rich white folks who have money but are losing their physical beauty.
they're not that old.
Nah, they're not that old, but Florida's where a lot of motherfuckers come to retire.
To finish.
Yeah, to finish. I like that. Speaking of which, I was laying in bed, and this is just before we dive into anything. I was laying in bed yesterday watching Men in Black. Not Men in Black. I was watching that too, but two things I want to hit since I mentioned that. First, I remember we did the episode last week about movie cliches, and there were two cliches I forgot to mention. Small, but cliches that get on my nerves. So I'm watching Men in Black, and they actually played both cliches in the same movie, where he's opening up the movie where Will is chasing this alien, remember?
Yeah.
At night and shit. And the fucking classic cliche, you've seen it in every movie, where the guy that's being chased runs across the street, and a bus or a truck drives past, and when the truck or the bus is done, the guy's vanished. Completely fucking vanished. Like, where the fuck would he have went? So that's one that bothers me. The other cliche that really bothers me is, and it was funny because on FXX, they were playing the horrible Fantastic Four. This is our 50th attempt at making this movie, trying to get this right. But this was the one with Michael B. Jordan as the flame dude. This was the most horrible one. But at one point, Michael B. Jordan said the same thing that Will Smith said in Men in Black, that every black man says when he comes across an array of women and weapons. You know what that is? Yeah, now this is what I'm talking about. I hate that fucking cliche. That's every nigga says that in every fucking movie when it's a bevy of bitches or weapons. He rubs his palms together. Yeah, now this is what I'm talking about. God, I would love to do a movie where they wrote that in there for me, and I would say, as we do the scene, and I would hope the director would keep it and use it. All right. Oh, this is the part in the movie where I rub my palms together and I say, yeah, this is what I'm talking about, and then break the fourth wall and look at the fucking the audience.
Maybe that's the movie you should do. You should make one of those like the scary movies where they make fun of all those genres, make fun of action genres.
All the cliches.
Yeah, let's just make fun of all the action movies.
Right.
You go in. You know, you did say in that you asked me who I'd want to work with in a movie, though.
Yes.
And I fucked up.
Uh-oh.
Because I didn't name the person that I would work with if they called me to do it. Like, if I had to go pick up dog shit in their yard and then do the movie so that I could just get in the shot with them.
Yeah.
Bill Murray.
Ah, that's a good one, because every comedian should want to work with Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, man. I don't know how that even slipped past me. And then I even, like, all week it's been bothering me.
You don't know how a thought slipped past you?
Oh, yeah, I know how it slipped past.
I think your thoughts, when you have them in your head, you should be hearing the Pink Panther music. Doo-doom, 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 doo-doom. That's your thoughts being slick, trying to get away from you, hiding.
Dude, my thoughts are fastballs, man. They come in so quick.
Just a bit outside. Second thing, they had the night I came in town from it wasn't a red eye. Thursday night, I'm in bed. I'm watching my favorite show on E, Sex and the City. And there was this one particular episode, and I said this before on the podcast when we did the booty about how black people and white people, we differentiate on what constitutes an ass. And it fucking hit me. They were doing the episode where Charlotte, she married the bald Jew dude.
Yeah.
And he had this habit of leaving his tea bags on certain places in the house, and it annoyed her. Because she's real, conservative and anal retentive. But then when she told him to stop doing that and he did it, his other thing was he liked to walk around the house butt naked and sit all over the furniture. And that really bothered her too. So obviously in this episode, they're not going to show him from the front. So all the nudity shots of him walking around the house with naked from the back. And that's when it hit me. I was like, you know what? I figured it out what it is about white people's bodies. Y'all develop fully everywhere else in terms of the maturation process. Your legs, your arms, your knees, everything is adult, fully developed, except your asses. You guys got toddler booty.
Because we're shaped like an hourglass. Like once we get old, like we get big and fat on the top, and then no, not really. No, they keep skinny legs though too.
No, but when you look at y'all's actually butt meat, it's toddler ass. They got toddler booty, man.
So we're born with the ass we're gonna have for the rest of our lives.
For the rest of your lives, everything else about you matures. Your elbows, your back, your chest, your calves, your neck, but your booties look like baby booties, man.
So from now on, white people, when you hear black don't crack, and then show them, but my ass is fucking like newborn. Just pull it out, show it.
I got newborn booty, babe, man. Until that shit get old and then it melts into your thighs, man.
Dude, we saw that dude though.
Yeah, we went to a horrible barbecue place out here in Florida, which we thought was going to be great because a 300-pound fat nigga who obviously was manning the grill was taking a break sitting on a park bench.
And he had the voice.
Hey, what's that? So we just knew. It's like certain things you see, you just know. When you see a big, fat, greasy nigga sweating, sitting out near the barbecue, you just think it's going to be lit. But this shit was horrible. But we saw this old white man who came to order some shit. And this motherfucker looked like he was about to go to the upper room any moment. But his ass had melted into his thighs.
It was a belt and legs.
A belt and legs. All right, let's talk about what we want to talk about.
Dude, it's just so funny though, man.
Before we jump into even that still, did you see the latest video in the on continuing saga that is Dave Chappelle versus the Alphabet Mafia, where the dude went to the protest. There was a protest outside of Netflix, and he had a sign that said, "I like Dave." And one of the protesters, a dude, took the sign, broke it, handed the guy back his stick, and then the crowd proceeded to say, "He's got a weapon."
It started.
He's got a weapon.
He has a weapon. Listen. There's something that I don't. I would think that people knew this, but I realized from talking to people that they don't know this.
Right.
There's schools that you go to, like classes, that they teach you how to protest.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I remember the black and white footage for the Freedom Riders and the sit-ins at the counters. They were given classes about what to expect.
Okay.
In terms of verbiage and physical reaction.
And now they teach you what to say. So as soon as he got the stick back.
Right.
Actually, the guy who was part of the ones who break it goes, has a weapon. Because as soon as you give that back, now they can forcibly remove you because now he has a weapon. And then you saw the people body up against him with their arms, and if the guy would have touched him, then he would have been
wrong.
Yeah, and he would have gone to jail. So there's techniques that are used to do this, and it's really good to know how to protest and how to do things until someone uses it against you that way. When that guy really didn't look like he was there to cause. Well, he was there to obviously stir some shit.
Well, he was there to protest too.
Yeah, but he was in their camp, obviously, right there, and that was good. He knew what was going to happen, but they handled it the way that you handle it when you go to a protest school. They knew what to do.
So, are you saying they did the right thing?
They, within their agenda, they handled it the way that they're taught to handle it. Dude, this is a big deal now, man. You can't. Everybody's going to be able to protest everything.
And it's funny. One of my favorite shows I've mentioned, Real Time with Bill Maher. I'm everything's laying in bed because I'm at the hotel, but I'm laying in bed yesterday, and Bill Maher comes on, and he's in his opening monologue, and I'm thinking, damn, this is such a hot button issue. Bill Maher's a comedian. I hope is he not going to address this? And then literally 2 minutes later, he made a comment about it and said, I'm going to talk about it on the panel. And I'm really hoping, and listen, everybody that has something to say about this, we all start off saying the first thing first, which is, look, No one is condoning violence. No one is condoning hateful rhetoric. Nobody is saying taking away anybody's rights or liberties. We're all for that. But the main fight we're fighting here is the assault on free speech and art, as subjective as it may be. And I'm going to tell you something, two things. One, I think the LGBTQT community is causing more harm to their own cause than good. This is not the fight they should be having. If we were talking about violence against, denying of rights, hey, I'll be at the protest. I'll be with them. But we talking about comedy. And it's turning a lot of people off. One of the things Bill Maher read was on Rotten Tomatoes, Dave got like a 4 out of 5, but 93% of the people loved it.
The general public.
The general public. 93%. And when you read all the comments in regards to this on a post like the one I reposted of the guy with the sign, almost 99.9 are saying what I'm saying, Bill Maher is saying, what the general public is saying, which is this community is turning off a lot of people because of the hypocrisy, because of what they're bitching about, because of them trying to cancel people, take away people's jobs, all over jokes. And as sympathetic as I think a lot of people want to be to that community and have been in the past, they are hurting themselves because they're coming off like bullies. And if the proof is in the pudding, here's this dude who has a right to protest too. But because his protest doesn't fit your narrative, what do? Oh, he can't have free speech, but you can. Then you take his sign and you break it and then scream he's got a weapon, which you turned it into. It was a sign. You turned it into a weapon, but now you call him out. He's got a weapon like he's a true threat. You're turning people off, man. The LGBTQ community is turning people off. And incidentally, when we read the emails, which you'll hear tomorrow, I got an email from a young lady who's a lesbian, and she's right with us. Well, you even turning off something. I don't know that the number is that significant, but you're even turning off people in the gay community too.
Well, the LBGTQ plus community,
Mafia. Yeah, I'm fucking Mafia.
aren't all on the same page on this.
Look, Johnny Shack owns New York. We own New Jersey. You know, they own San Francisco.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But what I was saying, I've said this before about everything that will, as you vilify the right, the far right, I've said that the left is cannibalizing itself, and they're doing it right now again, because even with the Netflix protest that they're going to walk out of Netflix, who has championed gay rights and lesbian rights and trans rights more than Netflix, with the movies and the opportunities that they have provided, and the people that are in protesting that they have this on, that they have Dave on their streaming platform, as well as all the other things that they have on their platform. They're walking out on their jobs. They're going to show they're angry at their company that has provided more for the community than anyone else. They're going to cannibalize themselves, and this is what happens with the far left, because nothing can ever be that perfection that they're looking for.
I had a couple of people in my comment section said, this is what you get with the left, the libertards. See, when Trump was in office, you didn't have this. And I don't want to turn this into a political thing, but my response was, come on, man, this ain't political. You know, there are people on the right that are just as bad. So now that I'm hearing you say the left, am I missing something?
Yeah, because it is political. It is part of the political platform with everything else that's on it. I mean, we've turned everything political. We turned the shot political. We turned hats political. We've turned everything political. So everything on the table is now political, depending on how you see it.
But why the left, though?
Why the left? Because the left has has radicalized just as much as the right. But
you just said it just as much.
Yeah.
So why is it a party thing?
Because
it's a moist thing.
No, well, when I'm speaking about the left wanting this utopia where everything. Listen, okay, here's what I can give you. Because and I can't give it to you in a political terms, but it's the only other way that I know how to describe it. But I just watched the video where I'm trying to make sure that I say this the right way because I want to make sure I get it right. They were speaking about feeding a child.
Right.
And that apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but that some men who go through transition can lactate.
Oh, I think I saw. That's the Candace Owen thing you sent me, right?
Yeah. And they don't. And what they're saying now is they don't want to call it breastfeeding anymore because they want to call it chest feeding anymore. Because
oh, Jesus!
So you want from thousands of years of our evolution to take us from the nurture from the beginning of time to breastfeeding. It's always been said how it's always been looked upon. And now you want us to recabulate. Can you say the word for me? Cabulate?
I don't even know what you're trying to say.
Fucking, I can't even say it. You want us to readjust our speech to chest feeding. It's the same thing, but you want us to read
from Dave Chappelle real quick from his special Equanimity. Yuck. Go ahead.
But you want to, that needs to be adjusted because somehow that, as what the person who was speaking said, that hurts their community. If we're just talking about words, if you really want equality, is equality in the words or the deeds? If we want you to have everything that you have, but we don't want you to come over here and change everything that we've had. But we want you to have everything. We're not going to stop you from doing what you're doing. We're going to champion you. We're going to help you. We're going to take care of. We're going to embrace everything. But we can't have words. We can't say breastfeeding because my wife has breast and I'm saying she's breastfeeding. But you want me now to change it to chest feeding so that it's more inclusive to someone else that I've never met before?
It's alive. It's alive. Oh, what the fuck are we doing?
And if my wife can breastfeed and your trans wife can chest feed, what's the difference if it's as long as the kid's getting fed? How we address it, it doesn't hurt you. I'm not hurting you by saying breastfeeding. You're making this up. It is not hurting you.
This is insane.
So. And I guess the way it's it's become political is because we just found the left has a utopian agenda where the right is more about leaving people alone. So unless, of course, they are not
telling women what to do with their bodies.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say when I said it, I didn't mean the left. I meant the radical left and the radical right. The radical right doesn't just tell people doesn't leave people alone as long as they're white. The radical right likes the people that they identify with better than anyone else. So
when Mars said and I wish I could get this right, but I'm probably gonna fuck it up. Phobia is different from
words have meaning.
Words have meaning.
And a phobia is to be transphobic. Means a fear. Phobia is the fear.
But I think he also said something like, "Look, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I'm
fearful of you.
I'm fearful of you, or I'm transphobic."
So that's the case. But we're guys.
He goes, "Look, do you think Dave really wants to see people hurt? He wants to see that community killed. That's not what it's about. It's about fucking jokes."
Yeah, but you know, just so that, and I guess this could kind of put it into more of a political terms too. They're radicalizing words in every aspect. For a long time, okay, and I'll take this to the black community because it's our listening audience. For a long time, there was bigots and there was racists. Archie Bunker was a bigot.
I was a bigot, yeah. Eat it, yeah. Stifle yourself, eat it.
And then there's racists, the people who try to keep you down, the people who kept you from getting jobs, the people.
Jews will not replace us.
And
Jews will not replace us.
And you could say they all swim in the same pool.
Right.
But there was a time when I could say something wrong or inappropriate, make a joke, and it could have come off incorrectly, and they would say, "Hey, that's very bigoted of you to do something like that." Mm-hmm. Now, you don't use how often have you heard the word bigoted? You're a racist. Just for having a thought or expressing something incorrectly. I'm not giving a pass on it, but that doesn't make that person necessarily a racist to the fact that they want to hurt or stunt your growth or your progression in this country, they may have made a bigoted statement. But we've taken that off the table too. So now racist. Now, because that's been said, anyone who does anything racist, before we had this in cultural studies, black people were not able to be racist in this country because they weren't able to slow down anybody else's progression.
By
take
definition.
A job. By definition. But now that's not the definition anymore. The definition is if you have any kind of, say anything that is belittling towards someone else, you are now a racist. They're radicalizing words. This is an agenda of that I don't have anything that don't want to have any part in, and that's why this agenda has now attacked comedy, because the only thing we have in comedy that makes it work is our words.
Right.
So that's how we got here.
You know, and I'm gonna say again, I can never say it enough. I don't wish ill will towards anybody. Everybody has the right to be happy, adopt kids, have a family, be who you want to be, change your gender, do what you want to do. But I'm almost in some way hoping that this pot gets stirred up to, I don't want to use the word war, but there needs to be something to happen, because this, I think, as a comedian, and speaking on how I make my bread and butter and how I pay my mortgage and eat, I can't stand for this. Now, I'm not Dave Chappelle. I don't have the power, the influence, or the voice to do what he's doing. But if he's going to lead the fight, and I hope he does, I just, like I said before, hope more comedians fall in line.
There needs to be a pushback.
Because if it's going to be a us versus them, not necessarily from a transgender versus non-transgender people thing, but more from a, hey, wordplay, art. It's art versus an agenda.
Okay, but here's where I want to slow down for a second on what you just said. The reason I say political, and the reason I and you asked me how does that come into play, I don't think that this is all LGBTQ plus community people that are driving this. Some of them are. Some of them are very radicalized in this idea of a left movement to change, like, not only the thought pattern, but the speech pattern of people. But it's also just the radical left. When we go out and someone is offended by something we say, and I'm not trying to throw just white folks under the bus on this, but you've seen these liberal, especially white women. I've dealt with it many times myself, speaking on my son and his autism, where I'll have someone, and it's always, I'm sorry to say, it's always been a white, late 30s, mid 40s woman come up to me and tell me how wrong I was to talk about autism that way. At the same time,
right,
I've had a woman yelling at me while another couple has come over to me crying, hugging me, and thanking me for talking.
But you get more of those than you do the negatives.
But those people have power to drive things. And my question is, who is driving all this? Because we're going to have a walkout. You saw the cameras were over at Netflix. This is part, and I'm going to put this again. And people asked me a long time ago, how am I voting for the media? Here's how I'm voting for the media before again, guys. And this is how it happened again. The media is part of who drives this. Who do you think puts all this out there in the news? Who do you think puts this out there and makes a bigger deal out of this when people are actually being hurt, killed? When we have real serious issues going on in our country, and we're talking about a comedian. Man, you got to really take your time and think about who's radicalizing this and why is this agenda being pushed? Why, not just this agenda, the whole radical agenda of us being, of words, of our community. What is this that is changing this? Who is behind all of this? There is much more to this. And I don't want to get into it because this is just one little issue that I think needs to, I know we want to push back on it. As comedians, we should push back on it. But there's more important things out in the world that we really need to take care of. And the agenda, I've always been pro-black on when we're talking here. I've always been pro-black because and I'm just going to do the quote, just being pro-black doesn't make me anti-white. I see the inequities, and I pushed for those solutions whenever I could in whatever form I can. this takes away from that because we're focused on something completely. I don't want to say completely. We're focusing on such a small number when there's a large number of people that have been working a long time to get momentum and change and for this throughout this country, throughout the world. Let's face it, being black hasn't been an issue just in America.
It's worldly.
So you make momentum, and then this, how does this ride the wave? And how does this take over that momentum? How does this take over the news?
Which is why Dave said your journey, or what his exact words were, was, your fight is progressing lovely, like compared to the black movement. You guys are doing well.
So there's a point though where we have to, the pushback not only has to happen by our words on stage, but actually being like, we are not addressing this anymore. You guys protest. You guys walk out of Netflix. We're still buying a Netflix membership. We're doing what I do. That company has represented the gay, lesbian, and transgender community excellently all the way up until the time when they said that they didn't. He could have said something a little different. He could have said, listen, Dave has a voice. It's a comedian's voice. He has a right to be on our platform. We have free speech in America.
I like the fact that he didn't walk on eggshells.
I'm not saying that was inappropriate for him. I said he could have nipped it by doing that.
Maybe.
But he didn't, and this is where we are. But we can't just focus on this community and radicalizing words. And we can't, because this is about, I mean, Jordan Peterson, whether you like him or not, and I don't know how many people know Jordan Peterson, he's considered a conservative, and he's really not. He's a professor, and he's really about intellect. I mean, he almost lost his, because of the word system that Canada has adopted, even more so than the United States. He almost lost his tenure as a professor at the college or the university he was at. If you want to know more about those thoughts from someone that's completely not from this country and that's looking at it and was ahead of what the curve was, check Jordan Peterson out. He's not liked by that radical left either.
The last thing I'm going to add is, I saw where Dave put out a statement where he said, I'm willing to sit down with the transgender community and have a conversation. Now, this worries me a little bit because I'm wondering, is this him doing this because of pressure, or is this him doing this because he really wants to do this? And in which case, if he does, let me just point out in my moment of vanity, our moment of vanity, we told y'all, I've already reached out to the transgender. Her name is Emily Patterson, transgender person, pronoun. And she transitioned from woman to man. I assumed it was man to woman, but we're gonna get him on the podcast and talk about it. So we doing this maybe before Dave does. But hey, if Dave did it and he made it a Netflix special where it's like a table, him on one side and a transgender person on the other, and they had the conversation, great. I just hope he doesn't fold. I hope he doesn't change his position, because if he does that, he gonna let a lot of people down, man.
I don't think that Dave hasn't taken. I really don't see Dave as taking a position, because he wasn't. There's no for or against anything in Dave's in the way Dave handled what he did. It was just about what he is allowed to say and what he's not allowed to say. And as a comedian, he has every right to those words. And I think that's all he's addressing. He also addressed the plight that the black communities had, and every time momentum happens, they change the game. And that's what he's talked about a little bit. That's only on the side note of it. And I think I think that I would really wholeheartedly would want to sit down and watch Dave, because Dave is an eloquent speaker, and I think that whoever the community would have that would speak with Dave would also be eloquent. And I think the more that we get to know each other, the less, and with the word phobia, and you're going to translate it into mean fear. Fear is the unknown. And I think if you had that conversation, as you get more comfortable, more familiar with people, you get more comfortable with people. And this has nothing to say about being phobic or not being phobic. I'm saying in every little aspect of life, the more you get to know someone else's culture, the more comfortable you become sitting in their house. That didn't mean that because you were uncomfortable that you were phobic. It just meant that you didn't know, or you didn't know how to handle it, be part of it. Once you get that, you're more comfortable. And I think this could be an opening for that to be more comfortable. I think when we talk about life now, there's no way that you go through life, and I don't know what part of America wouldn't have this, but I'm sure there are still parts in America where you don't know gay people, where you don't know, where they're not in your circle, or that you might not have contact with them. And because of that, we've become more comfortable. We understand that what that community is, and I have no issue with the community. I like the community. I feel very comfortable with the people that I'm around. The trans community, in where we're at right now, and with the way the medical advancements in science, this community has propelled itself in kind of a lightning speed as far as evolution on how they can transition, what they can become, what they are able to achieve now with science. So a conversation needs to be had.
Okay, look, and I said I was going to be done, but I got to say this last part. On MSNBC, they interviewed, I guess, the main speaker that they showed at the walkout, black woman, transgender. And she said, I know that part of what offends the community, and kind of what Dave had suggested in his special, is that somehow y'all are not real women, and that's offensive to y'all because you, according to y'all are real women. And going back to what Bill Maher said was, and to what I say, and to I think what most people's feelings and beliefs are, which is your right to not agree. Now, yeah, I know science, miraculous things, you can transform, you can do all of that. Just because you can do that and you're doing that, you cannot force me to acknowledge you as that if I don't believe that. And it's like, if you're gonna bully me and go, well, if you don't believe that, or if you don't recognize me as such, then you're transphobic. Don't bully me with that, because I have a belief system. I have a belief to my core that I stand by in terms of, in my mind and belief, what constitutes a real woman. Again, hot flashes. Is science allowing hot flashes, periods, menopause, childbirth? And even if it figures out how to do that, I just don't believe it. That's me personally. And I should have that right. As long as my rights don't physically hurt you or deny you anything, I believe what I believe. So, and I think that's what the struggle is for a lot of people. I'm sorry that you're offended if I don't see you as a real woman, but that's my belief. I shouldn't be bullied into thinking how you want me to think. That's crazy.
You do understand that some people don't stop, right? As I don't see you as, I believe that you can be a woman, but I will always see that a biological woman who was born a woman as a woman. And you can be a woman, but you're never going to be that.
And I'm allowed to believe that. I'm allowed to think and feel that.
But people don't stop there. And this is the concern, that people who don't recognize the person as a woman now. Back in, he brought up in the Stonewall gays. Was it Stonewall? Yeah, Stonewall gays. It happened in San Francisco, where there was the big riot that happened. People will oppress if they don't, and maybe that's the concern, and that's why a conversation would be nice. Why they're fighting for the right to be considered a real woman is not so much as what you're saying, but more so is because they feel in jeopardy, because if they're not recognized that way, that they'll be harmed or they're in danger because of that. You do see that side, though.
Yeah, but we live that in our skin every day.
Every day.
That we're going to be harmed.
That you can't change.
That we can't change. This uniform is forever.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And again, we laugh.
You have to.
We laugh.
And I know you don't like me throwing the Jews part on there, but I watched the Dave special and you haven't heard, other than when we first addressed the Dave special and you asked me the question, I addressed it one time and I laughed at it. As many Jews did, some Jews didn't like it. And we have the right to like and dislike comedy too. But we didn't want to cancel it.
Yeah. It's too much money involved. And we know which side y'all fall on when it comes to that.
Well, you know what though? That's how you get through things. And this is where I don't understand comedy. The reason there's so many blacks and Jews in comedy is because we've learned to laugh at some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And that's part of comedy. And I can't explain it any better than that right there.
Well, listen, when we have the conversation with Emily, and I rehearsed part of my shit in the shower yesterday, you know, what I just said on the tail end of my last comment, which is, let's have these conversations. Hopefully, in having them, the goal is to better understand
each other.
But even if we do not, I shouldn't be vilified for not, I won't say understand, but agreeing. You can explain it to me all day, and I still might not understand it. But even if I understand it, I still might not agree with it. I got to have that right. You got to give me that room. You can't not give me that room. The same way you don't want to be vilified for your beliefs and your decisions and what's in your core, you got to give us that same space.
I think, you know, I want to move on because I don't want our whole podcast to be just about this. But I think Dave's special did that, and it's unfortunate that it wasn't received that way. So
right,
we'll go on. I hope Dave does do that conversation. I think it will be fantastic.
But we're doing it first. Andy put me on to this Amazon Prime documentary about Val Kilmer.
Called Val.
Val. And I was wondering where he went, because I remember there was the 90s part of him, slim, trim, good looking, obviously Doc Holliday tombstone. Then he got really fat for a while, and then it felt like he just disappeared. And I went, what the fuck happened to him? And I didn't know till I saw the thing. He had throat cancer.
Yeah, and that's it caught me off guard because I saw.
Did you know it?
No, I even when I went to watch it, the reason I went to watch it is we had made a couple comments on the podcast before, and we've mentioned Val Kilmer before,
right?
And I saw it, and I said, "Yeah, what did happen to this motherfucker?" Right? You know,
right?
And so I saw it, and I put it on, and damn,
dude. And I said to myself, and listen. I said to Andy jokingly when we were setting up to do the podcast, that, you know, when you put that thing in your eyes, I said, that shit make a nigga want to stop smoking.
He doesn't have to use the sound thing. He just has a hole in his throat and he has to cover it up so that the air.
Oh, is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
I thought he was pushing a button.
No, he's covering up the hole so that he can
talk.
So he can talk. Otherwise, it doesn't go. The air doesn't go through the voice box.
Okay.
Which might be even grosser for you now that I said that.
Yeah, and I was sitting here going, and that's tough to watch, man. Like I thought the narrator was stuff he had recorded previous, but it's his son.
Who sounds
just like him. But I was like, damn, I wish his son could narrate all of it, because hearing that and seeing that is tough. And then part of me just went, boy, Andy loves this dark shit. God damn, nigga, why would he? I mean, this is like visual broken drumettes.
Dude, it didn't move you when you watched?
No, it absolutely did.
It moved me because I saw, first of all, listen, when you're me, I don't know how everybody else sees it, but when you see someone on TV, and you're yourself, you're a victim of this too, so let's put this out there. When you see someone that's on TV, successful, they're touring, whatever you do, he wasn't a touring comic, but but whatever you do, and he was touring though at one point too, because you see what he was doing. And then you see their name, you might catch him a bit on TMZ or whatever. Man, that's success, man. In that class of America that wants to watch his TV, that that's success, man. We're looking at and going, damn, like they made it. Look at their life. But what everybody forgets is what everybody goes through. And I don't give a fuck who you are. very few people get out of this world unscathed. Most people deal with something, and I always use the example, and I know you always say that I'm dark, but see, I want to forget names again. Anyway, anybody that I could come up with that I thought had an amazing life, if I look into their life, I find some kind of tragedy or tragic situation that's going on. I didn't know. I was just making fun of Val Kilmer because I always just thought, I see him in my head no matter what he's done, and he was great. I thought when I first heard he was going to be Jim Morrison in The Doors, I was like, that is the worst casting ever.
Right.
And when you watch it, it's like, oh, that's Jim Morrison. Right. So, but I still see him as the Iceman, that scene in Top Gun, and he is not the Iceman right now.
Listen, man, to be, in the pinnacle of his career, that whole 90s run, he's a good-looking dude, man. Good-looking movie star. And I forgot just how he'd been in some shit.
Yeah.
Ghost in the Darkness, Michael Douglas, Heat, Al Pacino, De Niro, Willow, fucking he was Batman, Top Gun, Tom Cruise, fucking Tombstone, Kurt Russell. Like he was a major fucking player. And to go from that to, because of the cancer, withered away, I just was like, it was a little bit of a jolt to the system. I mean, that one moment, and you just said something right now where, well, a couple things. One, I'm like, when they open up the doc and I'm looking at his crib, I'm like, is he broke? Because it didn't look that, and then they cut to him doing these autograph signings, and I'm like, unless he is just a fan of the fans, why most motherfuckers don't want to do that shit? And so he's doing that because he needs money, because he had mentioned that he was in debt. And I'm like, yo, you've been in all these big movies with all these big players. Debt? You got to go do autograph signings? And then there was the one moment where he's doing an autograph signing and he needed to stop because he said he wanted to lay down.
Yeah.
Then he had his man grab the trash can, he threw up in the trash can, and then they're wheeling him back to the signing table after he lays down. But he got the blanket over him while he's in the wheelchair.
So people don't see him walking as they're wheeling him through. Dude, you
just felt like pity.
You didn't cry at that moment? You didn't have a...
No.
Dude, I teared up at that moment. I teared up because I saw a man that was what you think is at the top of whatever it is. And now he's, he has to put himself out there as the old Batman that no one that gets critically that is panned all the time.
Right.
Although he did it. If you watch the movie, it's not.
He was my least favorite Batman
because he doesn't fit the part. But it wasn't the word he had. It sold at the box office.
Well, it was a hit.
But all I'm saying it now and to know that that you're the one that's critically panned,
right?
And you have to be wheeled to go sign some autographs, man. Life. Yeah, I mean, it's a bumper sticker, but life's a bitch, man. No matter what,
tough, man. That was tough. And I almost lost my train of thought for a second.
You caught some Andy?
Yeah, I caught some Andy. Ding. I don't know where his place is right now, but clearly the throat thing ended his career, which is why, again, if he was in debt and he was going broke, he's got to go do these signings. But when you talked about early in his career, when he did the thing where he said he would make audition videos and fly himself to where he needed to go to get it to hand
in front of the director.
That's dedication, man.
Dude, not only that, but just
he'd spend $6,000 for the flight and all of that. That's dedication, dude.
And he recorded all this. That's what's amazing. Did you saw the scene where they showed the warehouse with all the stuff? It's amazing. He's recorded everything throughout his career. He's, and this is why I think I teared up a little bit, is because when I thought about this,
right? He
recorded all this because he was not only is he Val Kilmer and this actor, but he was a fan of the genre that he's in. He's a fan of being in that business, in that entertainment. He's recording all this. He's part of it, but looked up to it as well. Because you
Right.
don't record all that and keep all that stuff
Right.
if if it's throwaway to you.
Right.
These are everything in there was important to him. He valued all that.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe I was going, is it because he's broke or he's a fan of the fans?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that he has his life together now. I know that he always wanted to live and then did live in New Mexico. And he wasn't part of that Hollywood scene. He was always considered kind of an outsider, and that's why if he would have been an LA guy, I'm sure he would have been in even more things and been more had more commercial appeal. He wouldn't have had to work that same way. Maybe.
I think when you reach his level, you don't have to be in LA. That's like Chappelle. He's in Ohio. He doesn't do the LA thing. I think Val Kilmer was so established that he didn't have to be in LA.
But don't forget, he got like that play that he's talking about when he's first coming
Mark
out.
Twain?
No, the play that he was doing where
Kevin Bacon and Sean Penn.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the lead.
Right.
And then Kevin Bacon was available, so
Right.
he got the number 2 spot.
And then Sean Penn came available.
So he got the number 3 spot because they took up 1 and 2 and
Right.
made him he became the straight man and the butt of all the jokes, not what he wanted to do.
Right.
So I'm just saying his career is amazing to me. And yes, you're right. You can get to a place where you don't have to live in that place. But when you're
Right.
part of the industry and you're there,
Right.
a few more things can fall your way. You can be, it's easier to get to the meeting or to run into the people. He's
Right.
paying, like you said, he's paying money and going to hand
Right.
these audition tapes over to people and not getting them because he might not be part of that. But this dude, man, and I don't know how I ever saw him. I don't know if I saw him as a talent. I don't know if I saw him as an actor. I saw him as a good-looking dude who was on TV, on movies.
Right.
And I don't think the good-looking part always worked for him.
Really?
I think it worked for him, but look at the people that they cast in certain jobs and not him. And honestly, his Batman, why isn't he a good Batman?
I just don't think he for the same reason I don't think Robert Pattinson will be a good Batman. He just doesn't fit. First of all, he's got blonde hair, and Bruce Wayne was a brunette.
They could have easily dyed his hair for that part.
That would have helped then for me. A blonde dude. I mean, look.
He's too good looking to be Batman.
But Bruce Wayne was always
but dashing. He's like soft good look. I don't even want to use the word soft. He's just like pretty good looking. Like he was prettyish.
To me, he was the George Lazenby of Batmans. If you know anything about James Bond,
Yeah.
George Lazenby was a one and done, in and out James Bond.
But James Bond, and this would be fun. This is kind of part of it too. Who's James Bond right now? What's his name?
Daniel Craig, and he just did his last one. So I think Idris Elba is about to be the first black.
What do they say about Daniel Craig though?
He wasn't good looking.
He wasn't good looking.
He wasn't like all the other James Bonds.
So you can be less good looking and still, and they'll cast you. But when you're too good looking, if you're too, why didn't they like Pierce Brosnan? Too cute, they said. Too.
Nah, but listen, before Pierce Brosnan became Batman, he wanted to be Bond. He wanted to be Bond, but he was stuck on Remington Steele. But once he finally got a chance to do it, to me, he was always a qualified.
He was, but they thought he was
Bond.
just too. Some people said he was just too handsome. It wasn't like that. It wasn't the handsome.
Plus, the performance felt stiff to me.
He felt like he was. Yeah,
it felt stiff to me.
But whatever.
But my thing is this, and again, everybody's definition of making it varies. But I stand strong to this, and you could tell. Because I had wondered why he didn't do it again. I thought, was he not offered or was it his choice? And he talked about in the doc how uncomfortable the suit was. So you got a sense he didn't want to do it again.
He didn't want to do it. He turned it down.
And he turned it down. That's when you know you've made it.
Well,
when you turn down Batman sequel,
but
you made it.
But he had a job to do The Saint.
I don't give a fuck. But he was going to have a job to do The Saint. He was at that level now where you don't audition, scripts are given to you, and you pick. But when you are at a position where you go, nah, the Batman 2. Franchise, toys and merchandise, food, McDonald's, all of that comes with that kind of shit. You've made it.
But again, that's why that warehouse is full of shit, because he was a fan of entertainment, acting, being a great actor, not just being a movie star.
Yeah.
And I think that's what hurts me the most is that I saw this guy who had a passion to do what he was doing, a love for what he was doing.
Right.
And you think that as long as you're alive, you can continue to do that kind of stuff. I don't know how many people told me as long as it doesn't make a difference the age you start doing comedy. I mean, whatever age you can keep doing comedy, no matter what. They can't take that. You can get up on stage at any age and do it.
Who? Name who?
Yeah.
Who's doing it? Who?
I still love that. When he said that to me, that was the greatest moment. But, we saw, and then you watch this doc, and God doesn't always agree with people's statements, and he showed you how he could take that all away.
Listen, it would have been great if that Mark Twain movie had come to fruition.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you something, in looking at this doc, because unless you're a diehard Val Kilmer fan, and you really watch his movies and you know his body of work, which, let me be honest, I was a fan of Tombstone. I really didn't get into Val that deeply. But through this documentary, especially by the time they get to the Mark Twain thing, when he's performing as Mark Twain, that motherfucker could act, yo.
He was good.
When he wanted to audition for, I forget what the war movie was, but he had showed the tapes of him doing the role with 4 different voices.
Yeah.
That was Eddie Murphy shit. Because each voice had its own personality,
Yeah, its own character.
own delivery.
Yeah.
And between that and what, Tombstone, some of the other things he's done, the Mark Twain thing, which was brilliant, I went, this motherfucker got the chops.
And he could do comedy, too. He was, who's the dude that I don't like that I always say is too good looking?
Ryan Reynolds.
He was the Ryan Reynolds of the 90s, of that time.
But you like Val, though.
I actually like Ryan Reynolds. I'm just jealous.
I got you.
Yeah, but he just, dude. When you watch him play in Tombstone,
Right.
What was his character? Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday.
Dude, whoever said that I always just follow areas, I said that at the exact same fucking time because we started at the same fucking time.
You go fuck yourself, convict. It don't mean shit to me. Go ahead.
Dude, I can't imagine anybody playing that part any better.
Let me tell you something, man. And this was a major note for me. And I've seen both movies. And for a long time, I refused to watch Wyatt Earp because of Tombstone. And then I went and said, man, let me check this shit out. Tombstone is so good, it makes Wyatt Earp unwatchable. Dude, Dennis Quaid and especially, first let me go with Wyatt Earp, played by Kevin Costner. And I like Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner got the chops too. But Kurt Russell bodied that role. Now, Dennis Quaid, when you see Val as Doc Holliday, Dennis Quaid, it's like a child's play. Stop. And then the movie, and what I didn't know was when you watch Wyatt Earp, it's basically the same script.
Yeah.
Same lines, same moments, maybe a different thing here and there. It's essentially the same movie. Man, it's like when you was a kid and you went grocery shopping with your mom, and you begged for Fruit Loops with Toucan Sam on the box. But instead, she got you loops of fruit in a white plastic bag. That's what Wyatt Earp was, nigga. Loops of fruit. Nigga. Doc, he should have got an Oscar for that. Doc Holliday, to this day, that's one of my favorite characters ever. You're not wearing a bustle. Some of those greatest lines. If you want my friend, I just don't think I could bear it. Then he puts his guns on the table. There, now we can be friends again. The way that performance, I'm your Huckleberry. Oh, you're no Daisy. You're no Daisy at all. And the one scene, I say it, that brings a tear to my eye, because I'm about loyalty and friendship. And whether it's me and my best friend Ish or my nigga V, when Doc is, sick, and they have the firefight near the river, and the dude says, Doc, what the hell are you doing out here? You ought to be home in bed. Wyatt Earp's my friend. Hell, I got lots of friends. Pause. I don't. Woo. Ugh. Almost brings me to tears, man.
Dude, I'm telling you.
That level of loyalty.
Dude, the other scene that you're not, there's two scenes that I think are, that just say what a talent. He brought that out, that character life. When the dude was fucking with the gun, and then he takes out his cup.
Yeah.
and does that scene.
Yeah.
And with the same face on.
That same face, never breaking eye contact, not even blinking. Yes.
Dude, and then his deathbed scene. When he's talking to him, and then a lot of people would have played that sicker, but he couldn't let his friend know that was the moment.
The fact that he got him sick self close to death out of bed to fight his friend's fight because he knew he couldn't win. Doc knew Earp couldn't beat Ringo. He knew it. And he didn't say, let me do this, because he knew Wyatt Earp would have too much pride and go, Doc, you're sick, stay in bed, I got this. He just didn't say nothing and showed up, took care of the business. And for his friend, because he knew he would lose that fight. Come on, man.
And
come on, man. I'm sorry, but I love how he described the movie. It's a love story between two men.
Yeah.
Now, as gay as some people might go, that's gay. It's not. Because, dude, when I say me and my dude-ish, I love that man, son. And I know he loves me. And I could leave my girl around him naked, and he ain't gonna do a goddamn thing.
But see, this is the problem.
And that's why I love that line by Nas in that song when he goes, me and my man, touch my man, girl. That's a no-no. Me and my man, we looking Han Solo. Like, nigga, we are that.
But that's the thing with masculinity is that you forget that you still have the ability to love. And you can love your dude. You don't have to be in love with your dude. You can love your dude.
Let me tell you something. If I were gay or were going to be, it'd be me and that nigga. Because I love that nigga. Because I know he got my back when I went through the divorce or in the second divorce, and she put the restraining order on me and had me kicked out of my house right after I just got done licking my fingers because of the Popeyes grease. I was eating Popeyes that night. That was so traumatic to me. I didn't eat Popeyes for 3 months, nigga.
Really?
Yeah, I stopped eating Popeyes for a minute because it reminded me of me being kicked out of my own house with a full stomach, nigga, looking for a place to live. And when I called him up and he said, yo, man, come on, man. Mi casa su casa, nigga. And I got to stay at his crib and he gave me a roof. Shh, come on, man. That's hard to find, B.
Yeah.
That's hard to find, man. And what's so great, again, this is why I go with Eddie Murphy shit. When you see him out of the Doc Holliday character and him as himself, he's nothing like that. That character had its own thing. Yeah. When the guy said, drunk piano player, can't hit nothing, probably seeing double. I got 2 guns, 1 for each of you. I mean, he stole that fucking show, man. Tombstone is you talk about man food. That is a all-you-can-eat, nothing but red meat buffet.
And I know we're talking about Val here, but you did bring up Kurt Russell.
Oh, and I'm about to say something about Kurt.
Dude, when that scene where you bring hell over there.
Ooh, I was just about to say
and you see his eyes?
And hell's coming with me. Cut to that beautiful sun in the background with the red and just the shadow of the horses coming and the music. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. I said, man, jizz in the jeans, nigga. Jizz in my jeans, nigga. That is a man's movie.
And that's not action-packed cars chasing.
Nope, that's good old-fashioned Wild West.
Yeah.
This is Burt Bridgewater. Let me tell you what a real man does. When a real man is a man that wants to teach his son and all his buddies about what it takes to become a real man. A real man waits till his son has a birthday party sleepover and then has a pillowcase fight with all the kids with frozen soda cans in the pillowcases. Dude, I was wondering when I can unload that one.
Dude, I'm going to tell you this, though, because you touched on this with the male relationship. And you said it's a love story between two men. Listen, the most true form of love is two men, and I'm going to tell you why. Because two men that truly love each other don't want anything from each other, and that's why they can love each other that way. Because you don't need anything from the dude other than the friendship.
Why can't I quit you?
Now that's a different kind of relationship.
Right.
But you don't need anything for that
Right.
person. We always want the man-woman relationship. We both want something out of that relationship.
Right.
And then if you have a same-sex relationship, you want something out of that relationship. 2 women, that's a tougher one. 2 men who really just put all that aside and just are just nothing you want. That's
Right.
why you can be best friends.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you something. I know a lot of dudes who call themselves best friends and say, hey, man, that's my boy through and through. And I question, could you leave? Here's the test. Could you leave your woman around your best friend? And if your woman, dirty little bitch, was to try to give him some pussy, would your boy turn it down? I don't think a lot of dudes are faithful like that to their friends. I think a lot of dudes will fuck their friends' girls. And I'm telling you, I put my life on it. My boy V and Ish, who I've known since 4th and 5th grade, we've watched each other have kids, get married, some of us, grown men, gray hairs on our faces, or except for me. I'm balding a little bit up top, but I ain't got no grays. My nigga Ish, who's 1 year younger than me, this nigga looks like Morgan Freeman. He is salt and peppered out. But I'm telling you, I would trust my girl around them niggas, and I know they won't do it. That's some loyalty for your ass.
My 2 dudes that I've been friends with forever, and I mean, we're friends, solid, Tim and Matt.
Right.
Matt's Jewish, Tim's black. Mm-hmm. But if my girl came in naked and tried to get either one of them, they would each say the same exact thing the same exact way.
Which is?
Get the fuck out of here. In that, just both of them would just tell her, get the fuck out of here. I 100% would trust those 2.
Well, I know you and I aren't that close as like me and Ish, but I would say to her, get the fuck out of here and don't come back till you put some heels on.
You would say get that out of here and don't come back until that
toddler booty has developed.
No, what was that? What you call it? Buttocks.
Buttocks.
Get that buttocks.
There you go. So if you haven't seen it, folks, check it out. It's a great documentary. Can be a tearjerker. I almost went there, but not quite.
I mean, I think I just think when you see other people in the struggle,
right?
Because we all have a struggle. I think it just humanizes us all, where you just become a little bit more human when you realize it's not just me.
You know, I gotta say though, man, and I know you said nobody goes through this life unscathed, and I think that's true 95% of the time. But I think there's a small population that go through life untouched and extremely blessed. Like, for instance, and as I'm looking at this documentary, I'm like, damn, son, this nigga Tom Cruise has been doing this successfully for 5 decades. What was his scathing? Eddie Murphy got on Saturday Night Live when he was 19 years old and became an instant star, and they never looked back. And he famously says, I've only auditioned for 2 things in my life, SNL and Dreamgirls. What was the scathing? And I read Eddie Murphy's autobiography. He grew up nice. Nothing abusive ever happened to him. Grew up in Long Island. You know, never been touched, molested, nothing horrific. Had a good life. Good childhood.
I don't know what he had, but I'm just saying, until you put your feet into another man's shoes.
I hear you, but it seems like there are some people who don't go through shit.
Well, he went through the thing with the trend hey, that's still like his public image.
To have his career, I'll pick up 5 transvestites. I'm not gonna do nothing. But I pick him up, same as him. Didn't do nothing, air quotes.
Okay. I don't know. Like, I always look at like
transgenders. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't know that we don't know at that time if that was just someone who dressed as well. Listen, man, I don't want to get into a war of words because I'm not equipped to do these radicalized words with people. So at that time, I think they did use the terminology that you just used.
Right,
so.
and that was an accident. That was the slip.
That was
the tongue.
Yeah.
Slip of the mind, not tongue.
Yeah.
I don't want the slip of the tongue when associated with
the slip of the mind.
It's not slip of the mind. It's the pronoun. Go ahead.
No, Eric Clapton is just someone that I saw go, when I saw these like old rockers who, older rockers who had a great life, a great career, married, did everything. And then his kid falls out the window. That's the one that I always keep in my head. Like, no matter what, you don't know when. And the Val Kilmer, you could have said the same thing about him. And then he...
Yeah, but one would make the argument, nigga, you smoked.
Did he smoke?
Yes, I think he smoked cigarettes. Remember in the beginning, and he's a trailer? I don't know if he was doing it as a prop, but he was holding the cigarettes up to his ear to pack a Marlboro Reds. I'm assuming he smoked. I mean, you can get throat cancer without smoking?
Yeah. I don't
Either way, okay, well then that.
But the point is, you don't know when it's going to come at you. I don't know. I'm not saying that everybody should. I'm just saying I don't know everybody's situation, and it makes me feel more connected to humanity as a person when I relate to someone else's trouble. Not that that's the only way to relate to someone, but that I have more compassion for other human beings when I see, because as we know, when you're sitting next to someone or you're on a plane or a train or you don't know what's going on with that person that day. You don't know what happened that day. That dude's, you get on a bus and somebody, irritates you for whatever they did, and you want to say something. You don't know if that person's wife, he could have just caught his wife cheating on him that moment. I'm not saying it's that. I'm just saying you don't know what people are going through.
I hear you, but God, I'm telling you, knock on wood, I really hope that I get to a point where I can be shown that I'm wrong, my perception. That I could, have enough paper and enough success where I could go, oh shit, it really ain't like this. Because I'm telling you, dude, I know what you're saying. But when you're living in a land of milk and honey, okay, a little bump in the road, you got a little bump in the road, versus who motherfuckers most lives is a whole destruction of highway.
I don't know. I just feel more connected when I know that we're all struggling together instead of feeling so alone that you're struggling by yourself.
All right. Is that it?
That's it, man.
All right.
That's the show. We're going to be in Orlando. You're listening to this. You're going to be listening to this when we're going to be in Orlando. We'll be there Friday and Saturday, the 29th and 30th, 2 shows each night. It's a quick in and out, so if you're in the area, come out and see us. And then we'll be in Ontario for the full 4 days, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th of November in the Ontario Improv. Very much looking forward to that. And then I'll be at the West Nyack Improv, one night only, Thursday night, headlining my own show. And did you find out if you're doing the Biloxi Casino gig? You haven't confirmed that?
Yeah, I'm still. Yes, in my mind, no in my heart.
But then we're going to be enjoying Thanksgiving along with you guys. I hope you guys are going to be enjoying your November. And then we're going to end up at Laugh Boston the 28th and 29th. That's actually a Sunday and Monday that following weekend. Come out and see us because you're sick of your family.
Yeah. John Doe. M.LIL_GO. Track 2. He goes, yes, I can out-rap anyone on any tip. Peep that's non-explicit till the second half. Oh, incidentally, and I said on this, I don't really like to judge people's art form because it's subjective and it ain't about me. It's about you. But I gotta say, as I was listening to last week's episode of the podcast, I think it was the email episode, because I loved it. Steve put in there the, you go fuck yourself, convict. But to the guy that was rapping, dude, it's okay to have influences, man, but you can't sound exactly like someone else to the point where it's like, because you take away from, or you don't establish who you are. This motherfucker, you could tell Tupac was his influence. The whole time, everything was in the heeb, in the dirt, in the heeb. This nigga had Pac's cadence to death. And the other problem you face with that is if you're gonna sound like that, and you obviously are gonna make people go, and then he's trying to sound like Pac. Well, then you better bring it, nigga. You better be better than Pac. And I'm not saying whether you were or weren't, because that's subjective. But dude, it was so obvious you were influenced by Tupac. Your whole every line, and the nigga in the streets in the heat. You had Pac's cadence to death. So just be careful of that, Playboy. That's like, Gorilla Black, when it sounded so much like Biggie. Where's Gorilla Black now? Shine sounded so much like Biggie. Where's Shine now? Be you, baby.
Don't forget, Eddie Murphy talked about that on what album was where all he knew was Richard Pryor, but his life experience was
talk about taking the shit.
Yeah,
y'all were like, break that shit in half. What does that shit want? Yeah.
Everybody does it when they're starting.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, Def Comedy Jam, 16, I had the leather gloves on with the all denim outfit. And, I was getting my little Eddie, I had my Eddie shit. But you got to break out of that, man. Okay, anyway. Peep, that's non-explicit to the second half. I guess my man's name is M. Lil. But he hit John Doe, so reach, yeah. Here it is. We're done?
We're done.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, well, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Klein-Schmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit www.spearsburgpod.com.